This week on Music Worth Buying, we're going to be checking out Extralife by Darlingside.
And Walk Between Worlds from Simple Minds.
Hello everybody, this is TJR. I'm a musician and a music writer.
And this is Robert Kinsler, and I'm a music writer and a musician.
And we both have albums that we have personally selected from all the stuff that we sift through. That we are excited to recommend to each other and to you as well. We hope you will find what we have today intriguing and fascinating and something you want to add to your collection here. And I will start this time around if thou does not protest too much.
No, I don't.
I will start here because I know the last time you really kind of lost your temper.
I did.
Everybody was. We got a lot of messages about how how out of your mind you went.
Yeah.
Luckily though, the medication has taken effect.
It has.
And you're
I'm calm.
Good.
I'm all tranquil now. Everything is good.
Awesome. So this is Extralife from the indie folk band from Boston called Darlingside. Now, this is not their first album, but this is my first exposure to this band. Apparently, from what I've read, they have taken a little bit of a departure from some of their more traditional indie folk rock roots, whatever you want to call it, with this particular album. And they're expanding their musical palette with this album as well. As I listen to this, bands like this, like Extralife and like the Fleet Foxes, are really expanding what the term folk music means in the 21st century. I'm going to quote NPR here. I didn't write this, but I'm going to quote them because I think this is perfect. They describe them as exquisitely arranged, literary-minded, Baroque folk pop. And I might even say this is sort of ethereal, gentle, progressive rock, in my opinion. I'm not even sure we should use the term folk, but that's what they've been saddled with. First of all, this album features some of the best vocal harmonies since Brian Wilson taught the Beach Boys how to sing. Number one. I'm going to stop talking, actually. I'm going to save more for later, more chatter for later. We're going to check out a song entitled Singularity. I'm curious to hear what you think.
Okay, great.
To the west now it begins, in the sound waves, in the wind there is an echo going back of the mountains caving in, and the parted roads, and I knew that one day we would die and become smooth and whole again.
Now, that is my first time hearing that, and I was almost moved to tears. That was so beautiful. Those human voices. It's like you're saying the Beach Boys or some what the Beatles did. Some of my I just love harmonies. There's no substitute for those real blending of voices.
Yeah, the only other band that I can think of that is doing this level of kind of vocal harmonizing in this way is the Fleet Foxes, who I remember when their Helplessness Blues album came out, I remember I talked about it on our show back when we were on the old channel. And I compared Fleet Foxes to Jimi Hendrix, only, not that they sound anything alike, but only in that it felt like it was coming from another universe. And this album has some of that quality. It's a little bit more down to earth, slightly, but at times it has that same kind of quality where it's like, okay, I don't think this is coming from our universe.
I think that's, and I'm anxious to hear all of it. I mean, I think Simon Garfunkel, First Aid Kit. I mean, Dada, they're a rock band, but they had these really unbelievable vocal harmonies that they did. So inventive, some of the intervals that they used. But this is just sheer beautiful. You know what I mean? It's just sheer beauty. And I know there's a lot going on as far as artistically what they're doing, but just on an immediate listen, it just sweeps over you, and your emotions are just jarred in a good way.
In a very good way.
Yeah, just unbelievable. Thanks for bringing that. That's amazing.
No problem. I'm going to talk about packaging. Now, what's interesting is, this album is very lush and beautiful. Thematically, the album's songs look at the possible future or futures of mankind. And it does go to some very dark places and very dark scenarios as to where mankind might be heading. But somehow it does manage to be uplifting at the same time. I want to particularly point out the packaging of this album. Now, normally, you'll notice how it's shiny. Normally, you have an album in shrink wrap. You have to tear the shrink wrap off. Now here, it's actually in its own little self-sealing sleeve. This is how it's actually packaged, like this, which is great. It helps protect it. And you pull this out. Now notice the title here. When I pull this out here, let me get that out there. There we go. The title is actually there and printed on the sleeve.
That is really cool.
So it just leaves it there with the artwork. There's the back there.
Wow.
And you open it up here, and you've got these little cut holes here in it, so that when you pull this stuff out, there you go. And I guess you could switch it around, and that of course would change.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
How that looks. This is the actual album itself here.
Okay.
This is on. I love the fact that it has its own little case. I wish more CDs would do this, where you have a case
That's
to help
nice.
keep it from falling out when you try to reach for it.
Yeah.
And then in here is the booklet. There we go. And the booklet, beautifully designed, although maybe not as practically set up as far as the words, lyrics are set up here for this one. It's kind of set up where you've got them
And
all
then if you
written
go like that,
long,
wow.
just like no breaks between
Yeah.
them. I get this artistically. I don't always get it practically from a practical standpoint.
Yeah.
There's the group right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
package. So I switched the inserts around, and of course that changes how that looks on the inside there. And, we talk a lot about vinyl packaging and how much greater it can be. And I think you just have to be a little more clever with CD packaging to make it unique and interesting. And this definitely, I think, does it. Just this little bit here with the self-sealing sleeve. I think that especially when they're not in a jewel case. Jewel cases are, of course, very durable. They're very rugged. If they break, you just replace them. It's very easy. This type of packaging, this is a mini, vinyl gatefold digipacks. I think they're more beautiful looking, but they're more fragile, and they require that you take care of them. And I feel, if you ever saw my video that I did, The Psychology of Vinyl, one of the things I talked about was the fact that it is a fragile format. You're forced to take care of it, so you're forced to value the music more. And I think that this kind of more fragile CD packaging forces you to take care of it as well. Maybe the CD itself is not so fragile, but as far as the audio, but this is more fragile, and that makes you value it more what you have.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So I encourage more unique and creative ways to package albums, even on CD, definitely. And the CD sounds gorgeous. I haven't heard it on vinyl, but the CD sounds absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. It's very well mixed and mastered. So I don't think you're going to have any problems if you get it on CD versus vinyl. And we're going to check out another song. This is the last song on the album. It's called Best of the Best of Times.
Under the table, tipping me down like a cradle, drowning me out with an amen, heralding heaven in all like time, and everything's fine. We're a long way from the best of times. A long way from the best of times.
Very different than the first piece, but I like it. There's a, it's driving, almost like if Arcade Fire was a kind of more of a folk rock group or
really?
something.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but with those amazing, harmonies and everything. But I mean, a first listen, almost hard for me to. It's very original. It's just great.
Extremely original.
Yeah.
Sounding. If anything, if I had to make a comparison, this song reminds me a little bit of the Moody Blues.
Yeah,
A little bit,
I hear that.
of the Moody Blues. And this is this is probably the most, I was going to say upbeat, which is the wrong word to use because all of this music feels just tremendously uplifting. This is the most up-tempo, and I think you said driving.
You're driving, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
where
what
there's actually a real drive in the
Right.
song. Normally these songs tend to go like this around you, kind of like this.
Okay.
And move you through this kind of ethereal landscape, whereas this song kind of shoots you through, But Kiss is going to cover this song.
Really?
Yeah, Kiss is going to cover this
Wow,
song.
cool.
Yeah, because it's so driving.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's going to, that's
Okay.
going to happen, right? Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Anyways, though, check out Extralife by Darlingside. And who do you have today?
Well, I've brought someone back. I mean, they've never gone away, but I think American audiences might have lost touch with Simple Minds. Obviously, they're a great group that had some big success in the 1980s, and they're back with a new album. It's called War Between Worlds, and I just love this album. I actually I saw somebody was playing one of these digital like video streams or something at a store or something like that, and I heard the first song that we'll hear from a little bit of in just a minute, and I go, that sounds like Simple Minds, and lo and behold, it was Simple Minds, and just a really good album. And when you get into just really good songs, Jim Kerr sounds as great as he did, 30 years ago. Just solid songs, solid performances, and it was just great to hear them again. And I go, they're like U2 or one of these 80s bands where their sound, that they kind of came up with that sound. It's very original. And so it doesn't sound dated. They're not dealing with some of the, like some of the 80s groups, you hear an 80s song, let's say somebody like Flock of Seagulls, but it's very much of its time, and it's kind of limited. You hear the technology of that time. Simple Minds doesn't do that. It's just expansive guitars, just a great lead vocalist, and just really good. Why don't we listen to a little bit of it, and then we'll talk a little bit about this new album and the amazing package, speaking of good packages.
Absolutely.
So this song is called Magic, and it's from Simple Minds.
Cool.
Lost inhibition, I lose my mind. Reality was no friend of mine, so I thought I knew, but everybody's just kidding you. And I remember when I stumbled on a slippery stone. I was in the jungle and I couldn't get home. Was it
Hey, I have to admit, you probably know Simple Minds way better than me. Me, all I can think of is, Don't You Forget About Me.
Right.
I probably only know the hits. I probably can't think of the titles of any other hits other than that one.
Yeah.
Probably if you played, this is another hit. Remember this? I go, oh, that's right. I remember that one now. That was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. And I'm one of these people, I knew them very well in the 80s, and then it's one of those things like you kind of lose touch with the band, or maybe you're not exposed to them here. Today we have the internet and stuff, but in the early 90s there wasn't that opportunity. They even before this album, which came out recently, they had a album called Big Music in 2014, and that also was pretty widely praised. So I need to go back and catch up on that one, and I intend to do that. But, I'll tell you, this is a very good album, a very good collection of songs. That song you heard is kind of like a signature, song from Simple Minds, with the dramatic chorus and the soaring guitar and all that. But there are some more modern kind of elements, I think, that are a nod to some of the EDM and some of the, like groups like Phoenix and things like that have come up since the 80s. So they've maybe incorporated a little of that, but I think they've not given up anything that of what makes them special.
What really struck me about this track as I listened to it is that I thought it feels fresh.
It does.
There was just a freshness to it. It doesn't feel. It feels young.
Yeah, and this is a band that's been around for 40 years. I mean, you just to get your head around that, you go, wow, they don't sound like that. I mean, it really does sound contemporary, and the songs. Are dynamic, and they're all different, and I don't think there's any weak tracks. I actually have here, there's a deluxe edition of the album. It comes with, I think the standard album is 9 tracks. This has 3 bonus tracks, including a remake of the old Irish classic Dirty Old Town, which is kind of neat. So, I mean, it's really, for people that love Simple Minds, you're going to want to get this. And it comes, we were trying to discuss the packaging, it comes in like a little,
I love this.
Yeah,
it's a hardcover book.
It's a hardcover little book. Just beautiful. There's illustrations of the band, there's all the lyrics. I mean, it's really colorful, and, like a neat picture there. I mean, look how cool that is.
I can see it on the monitor.
Yeah, you can see it on the monitor. So very cool. I mean, it's just a great package.
May I?
Yeah, sure can. Just really beautiful, and the songs are really great. And this, like I said, this is a band that's been around for 4 decades.
Yeah.
But you feel that they're very much, aimed toward the future, and that's what you want from any band, that they don't become a nostalgic act. Which, just like U2, this is Simple Minds. I think the roots are in Scotland. Just very, great to hear this album, and I'm excited actually to catch up on what they've been doing, because this album, kind of conjures up that thing like, hey, these guys are great, So to the casual listener, they might think they're a brand new band, and I think they're probably a band that goes out every time they go to an album. And I'm thinking very much like you too. They're striving to say, hey, this next album could be our best ever album.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you have to go. If you're a musician that believes in what you do,
You have to take that attitude.
You have to take that attitude.
Yeah.
You know.
I agree.
And as the Zombies have proven, because they're like 55 years into their career, you can still go out and make an amazing album that almost rivals your classics.
Yeah.
You know,
I
you
agree.
really can do that. You know.
And without ever having heard anything else, must say I do love this package. And once again, you know, finding unique ways to package CDs to make them more physically and visually interesting. I love that.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, great. Yeah, and now what we're going to do is hear a track that's very different. The first one you heard was Magic. Now we're going to hear a little bit of a very dreamy song called Utopia, and let's check that one out.
Okay.
Would you wait for me? 'Cause I can't tell if these memories belong to Utopia. Utopia. Utopia.
I found myself liking this too.
Great.
Kind of surprised. I wasn't expecting to. I was not let into Simple Minds. That line about listening to Arcadia, I can't help but think that maybe they're referencing. There was that Duran Duran offshoot band,
Right.
Arcadia. There were two of them. There was Power Station and Arcadia.
Arcadia, yeah.
And I remember I liked Power Station back in the day. Arcadia, I liked the one-hit single, but I didn't listen to the album. I've recently gotten a hold of an old vinyl copy of it and listened to
really?
it, and was surprised by how much more progressively jazz it was compared to Duran Duran. I don't want to
Interesting.
get into a totally different review here,
Yeah.
but I couldn't help but think about it with that line.
Yeah,
Listen to
and
Arcadia. If they are some way referencing that, I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, and what I like about this song is it's you know, to me it's like the bridge between the 80s and this decade. That it's like there's a lot of groups that have gone back to the 80s. I think we both acknowledge now, big time. I mean, I've seen so many of them, but it's like almost like this is like if Simple Minds was a young band, they're tapping into the 80s to do they are now. So it's like bringing it full circle.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much going. Like I said, it's they've not at all given up with what made them special to begin with. But they're continuing to push the envelope, continuing to explore new areas, and just a wonderful song. I just love it.
I agree with you. It sounds. You can feel the 80s influence, of course, they're an 80s band, but it feels fresh.
It does.
It does feel like a young band tapping into the 80s, very much so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do like what I'm hearing, and I'm curious to hear more.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And this album, like I said, I have the deluxe audio CD version, but it's also available in some other for vinyl lovers. I guess it's available via a picture disc. So if you want to check that out, and a standard audio CD, and it's obviously you can get it digitally if you don't really care about the packaging, but want to just check out this great music. You can get it digitally.
Warning, just a little warning, a little heads up. You're not as familiar with vinyl, I
Okay.
know, because I've been getting more into vinyl this year. You're still with CDs for the
most part.
For the most part,
I do have a turntable, but I'm not as immersed in it as you are.
Exactly. So I do want to point something out, just so that our listeners know. And picture discs tend to not have as good audio quality as non-picture discs. So
Okay.
I'm sure it's on vinyl and standard. It may be in colored vinyl. Colored vinyl doesn't matter, but I'm sure it's available on standard vinyl versus a picture disc. But I just wanted to bring that up here
Okay,
because I think
great.
it's about it.
And
to
the
know that.
audio depth in this,
Oh,
I mean,
I thought
like
it sounded great.
it's so
Yeah.
amazing that you're going to want to hear it on
I
the
think it
best
sounds great.
device or
Yeah.
best turntable or best audio CD player you can.
I thought it sounded great. Yeah, just we're listening here on a Bose Bluetooth speaker, and we're cranking it up, and it sounds fantastic.
Oh, it does. It sounds
Yeah.
really good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for bringing that.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that. I mean, that's an album I really want to hear
Yeah,
too.
I want to hear that one too.
Yeah.
And so, have you heard these albums? What are your thoughts? You know, do you agree with what we have to say? Do you disagree? Please let us know what you think. And as always, I thank you for subscribing. If you haven't done, please do. Be sure to click notifications. That's the little bell icon, so you know when we release new videos. We don't want you to be left behind or out of the loop when we talk about new music. We're still here in the early part of 2018, but I'm starting to feel like it's the beginning of a very good
Oh,
year.
yeah. I'm very excited. I've heard
Yeah.
some great
Yeah.
albums this year.
So, and we're barely into the year here. So, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon.
See you later, everybody.
Bye.